Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Triangulation is brought to you by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com. This is Triangulation, episode 60, recorded Wednesday, July 11th, 2012. Nolan Bushnell. Triangulation is brought to you by Ford, featuring the MyFord Mobile smartphone app for electric vehicles. The MyFord Mobile app makes the electric driving experience fun and efficient. Learn more about Ford electric vehicle technologies at ford.com/technology. And by Stamps.com. Use Stamps.com to buy and print real U.S. postage the instant you need it right from your desk. For our special offer, visit Stamps.com, click the radio microphone, and use the offer code Triangulation. And by Carbonite Online Backup. Automatic, continuous, unlimited backup for your computer files, just $59 a year. Try it free at Carbonite.com and use the offer code Triangulation to get 2 bonus months with purchase.
It's time for Triangulation, the show that gives us a chance, frankly, and it's the main reason this show exists, to talk with some of the most interesting people in the world, the big brains, the thinkers, the people who've done and moved the world or are about to move the world. And boy, you couldn't get somebody better for the show than this fella right here. Nolan Bushnell is our guest this week on Triangulation. A name that is legendary in technology, founder of Atari and of Chuck E. Cheese Pizza Time Theater.
Right.
I give it the full name. Video Game Hall of Famer, legend, and it's so nice to meet you and get a chance to talk to you. Thank you, Nolan, for joining us here. And I have to say that the Atari always will have a special place in my heart, not only because of the 2600, which was the gaming machine that really started it all, I think. But my first personal computer was an Atari 400,
right,
which I upgraded to an 800. And that got me into all of this. So I owe you a great debt. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I played games on the big mainframes, and Steve Russell from MIT, I considered to be the foundation on which I stood.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy for us to forget sometimes how the pathway that our lives have taken.
Sometimes we don't want to think about the pathway.
Well, you know, the old story that creativity is the art of concealing your sources. But
great, what is it that Steve Jobs said, great artists steal? Something like that.
Yeah.
So were you a gamer first? Is that how this all started?
Yes. I had the benefit of being a carnival barker. No. I mean, I really started out running, being on I worked at an amusement park evenings while I started an advertising company in college, and I could spend money always faster than I could make it. So I decided to get a job.
That's a good motivator, isn't it?
It is. And I got a job at the amusement park that was local in town, and I got to be really good at it, and they made me manager, and so I was pursuing an engineering degree winters and working at amusement park summers and selling advertising for my own company.
It's an interesting nexus. So you learned how to program. We were talking before the show in machine code, not merely assembly code, but actually the hexadecimal machine. Was it hex or was it binary?
It was hex, and you know, you'd have to say shift left, shift right, add, you know, I mean, just nasty.
But I guess in the earliest days of microprocessors, that's what you did. I mean, it was only a step up from flipping switches on the front panel.
Well, I can remember how amazed I was when I could turn off a machine and turn it back on and it would self-boot. Because before that, there were like 18 things. You had the little switches, then you step, then switches again, then step.
You'd literally program the boot sequence each time.
Each time. And if you were off by 1 bit, it wouldn't work. And even if you were right, it wouldn't work half the time. Right. So,
you didn't know if it was a bug, an error,
yeah.
You flipped the wrong switch. So was it punch tape that changed that, or having some storage, I guess?
No, it was just a little bit of storage, and then they figured out how on the power-up sequence they'd just run the boot sequence, and that was magical to me.
You know, it's something we just take it for granted now. That of course, well, that's how you had to do that. Why didn't they do that right away?
Yeah.
But all this stuff, as you were saying before the show, had to be invented. Somebody has to invent it. Somebody has to think of it.
Yeah.
So you were an engineer. What were you thinking when you were an engineering student that you wanted to do? Was it build hardware or was it software? What was it that you were?
I was really focused on getting out of Utah. and I felt that Silicon Valley would be that.
Now, this is the early days of Silicon Valley. I mean, it was HP and
Intel, Fairchild, and right. But really, what was in the back of my mind is I would sneak into the computer labs late at night and play video games.
Ah. Now, what were they then? Was it Dungeons, Colossal Cave? Or?
There were ping pong games and things, but the one that I fell in love with was called Space War, which was simply rocket ships and in a gravitational field, and
it's kind of like asteroids.
It was more. It was one-to-one combat, really.
Okay.
So you and I would sit down and we'd play, and we could spin around and thrust and shoot.
And this was not running on a microcomputer. There weren't any microcomputers. This
was
a
a
mainframe.
Big vector display. The displays were about this big around, green. You had to have all the lights turned off because they were dim as hell, and you could just and it was mesmerizing to me. And I thought, I knew the economics at the amusement park, and I thought to myself, if I could package this up so that amusement park could buy it, I could make a lot of money.
So you saw coin-op as
the
goal.
I saw the arcade business.
Yeah. And at the time, there was pinball. Mm-hmm. There were some mechanics. In fact, we've got a vintage 1968 pinball machine out in the back there.
Yeah.
So that was what these arcades were running.
And they also had some sort of other games, but they were based on motors and...
Right, they were physical.
They were physical and slide projectors, so that they'd have images on the screen, but they were all really kind of nutty.
Right. So was the idea how can I make Space Wars cheaply? You had to make it cheaply, right? And reproducible and reliable.
Yeah. That was basically the vector that I was
And was it going to be microprocessor based? Was that because this is the beginning of microprocessors?
Microprocessors hadn't been invented.
They hadn't been invented.
Remember the
So how are you going to do
4,000 well,
we're going to breadboard a circuit designed specifically for this purpose.
It started out with me doing the calculation on the PDP one and saying, $1 million computer, this isn't going to work.
Right.
And so got my degree, went to Silicon Valley, worked for almost 2 years. And one day...
Was this working for yourself or were you working
No, I was working for Ampex Corporation.
Ampex, okay.
And
big tape machines, tape recorders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
First videotape recorder in the world, that sort of stuff. And so one day across my desk, they had trade magazines, and they had this $5,000 mini computer, Data General Nova computer.
The Nova, yeah.
Blistering speed of 800 kilohertz. 800 kilohertz. Wow. That's really cool. And so...
Kilohertz, not megahertz.
Yeah, kilohertz.
Not gigahertz, kilohertz.
Yeah. And it was considered blindingly fast.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, that's probably fast enough. I bet I can do that. And so my objective... the screens were very expensive.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll just use a regular television set, because I know they're about $150. And I'll do the interface circuitry, and we'll be good to go. And so I started the design. Hadn't bought the computer yet, thank God. And I do the calculations. I keep running out of time. And so...
It's not fast enough?
Not fast enough. 800 kilohertz? Not fast enough?
We're doing too much.
We're doing too much. So I started offloading some of the things I wanted to do into hardware. So like the star field, I figured out a little circuit that would put stars up, so the computer didn't have to
No thinking involved. It's just dots.
Just dots. And then...
So in the early days of video, you had a buffer that you were just putting bits into?
Right.
Basically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And so I kept running out of time. Finally, I said, okay, computers aren't fast enough. I'm going to put this away. And for 2 days, I was kind of sad because I'd spent a lot of time on this. And then what they say, the epiphany hit me. Do it all in hardware.
Ah.
And so, and the minute that hit, all of a sudden, it got really cheap because I was using all these chips just to interface with the damn mini computer.
Right.
And
they're gone.
Once they're gone, then they're gone.
Is it analog? It's all analog.
No. This is all
still digital.
Yeah. But now all I had to do was throw bits up on the screen. So I built these digital signal generators, which were that were the basis for all my early patents, and 100% of the games up until about 78 used that technology.
No, that long.
Yeah. Well, remember, the 4004 was invented in 74.
Right. This was Intel's first. It was a calculator chip when they first.
Well, it was 4 bits.
Yeah. Couldn't do much.
Couldn't do much. And then the 8080
or the 8080. Okay.
Then the 8080, and I think that was late 76, maybe 77.
So I mean, it's easy for us to forget. There really wasn't a way to do this in solid state.
That's correct.
Until then.
Right.
So wow. So you actually these are almost building. You're building machinery almost.
Exactly.
Well, that's good because you came from an amusement park. You knew about it's just machinery.
Well, you know, in the amusement park, we were taking quarters for a game.
Right.
I just automated it.
Same idea. You automated it. You eliminated the barker. You put yourself out of a job. So when did you start Atari? Was that around then?
I started Syzygy in...
Syzygy first.
First.
You always liked unusual names. Atari's a Go position. Syzygy is
Alignment of planets.
Yeah.
SYZYGY.
Yeah.
Of course, nobody could... No, it's actually
terrible name, but I love it.
I love it.
Geeks love it.
Geeks love it, exactly.
And geeks even know how to pronounce it, which
right. But everybody else is Syzygy.
What the hell? Yeah. Is it Japanese? What is that?
No, it's a...
No, I know what it is. I'm saying they said. Is it What is this? Syzygy. What is that?
Anyway, but we got it going.
That was
started in late 79 or 69.
69.
And we had our first game, Computer Space, which we licensed. We didn't think of ourselves as being a manufacturer at the time. And then Pong in 72.
Pong was the breakthrough.
Yeah. Well, Computer Space was really good, a good game, but it was too hard. All my friends loved it. All my friends were engineers.
Right.
A guy with a beer in one hand in a bar didn't have a clue.
Was it Space War essentially? Okay.
Space War.
And so Pong's a lot easier, isn't it? It's simpler.
Trivial.
All you're doing is you have a pot that you're moving a thing up and down.
It was the right entry point. Computer Space was
too hard.
Way too hard.
But even easier, Pong was even easier for you to design, wasn't it? It seems like.
Well,
it's a simple.
I thought that Pong was just a training thing for Al Alcorn. I thought it was a silly game.
So Al was a young guy. You said, Al, do that, and when you get good at this, we'll work on.
We were working on a driving game at the time.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
This is. I hope you don't mind going back in time a little bit. I'm sure this is intensely boring. You've lived this. It
is intensely boring, but it's okay.
For us, I got to tell you, Nolan, it is the coolest thing ever.
Okay.
So I appreciate your patience. We'll get to the modern times.
Okay.
But for me, it's so wonderful to hear these stories.
Well, what's fun for me? I love what I'm working on now.
Right.
And
this is ancient history.
Yeah, and
it's not even you anymore.
You can't.
It's some other guy.
You can't drive in looking in the rearview mirror.
Right.
You know. You know. I want to make the future happen faster because I'm running out of time.
We all are. I hate to say it. All right. Well, we'll talk about that, but I'm going to have to ask a couple more Atari questions.
Okay.
Well, we'll skip the Chuck E. Cheese here. And we'll go right to the present. How about that? That's the roadmap.
That's a deal.
Before we do, Nolan Bushnell is our guest on Triangulation. I hope you're enjoying it. I know the chat room is, and we got a lot of geeks in here who are just really enjoying it, some of whom want to hear the Chuck E. Cheese stories too. But first, before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about the culmination of all of this. You got a computer, you got a printer, and now you can print your own U.S. postage. That's a good idea, right? Wish there were a company. Oh, there is, Stamps.com, and they've been around for a decade. I've been using them for a decade. And the post office loves Stamps.com. It makes it so easy. You are the post office. Your post office is at your desk. You don't ever have to go in to buy stamps. You don't have to go in to mail anything anymore. You just use Stamps.com. Here's the deal. You get a USB scale. You can pop the letter on there so you're always printing the right postage. It knows the rates, so when the prices go up, they seem to never go down. But when they go up, they already know. So you never use more postage than you need to. It's also because the computer, for instance, if you're an Amazon seller or an eBay seller, the computer knows who you're selling. It prints out the right forms. You're doing international, it prints the forms for you, fills them out for you. So it really saves you time. The post office even gives Stamps.com customers discounts you can't get at the post office. Up to 21% on express mail, up to 15% on priority mail. And if you use Stamps.com a lot, the cost goes way down. I mean, there's just so many reasons to try it. So here's the deal. Go to Stamps.com right now. You'll see an $80 no-risk trial. Nah, don't do that. Up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a beautiful little silver microphone. Click that. And it says, welcome, Leo Laporte listeners. Use the offer code Triangulation. And the $80 offer becomes a $110 value, $55 in postage, a free digital scale. You just pay the shipping and handling for that. You get a supply kit and a 4-week trial. No cost to you except for the shipping and handling. $5. And you're going to love this. $55 in free postage. I think that makes it up. In fact, just do that, and then you can decide. Stamps.com. Please click the radio microphone, use the offer code Triangulation so we get credit for it. I think you're going to like this. We've been using it for years. In fact, we use it so much here we have 2 accounts. People are fighting over them. We want to make it easy. Stamps.com. Nolan Bushnell is our guest on Triangulation. That's a name that resonates with everybody. Probably many of you, like me, got started in technology because of Atari. Games is a great way to get started in technology. I still tell parents that. Let your kid play games.
Absolutely. And then let them start authoring games.
Exactly. That's what I did. That's why I got
it with my kids.
I got an Atari 400, and I said, no, I want a better keyboard. I got the 800 because I suddenly wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And it is exciting. And once it becomes software, really anybody can do it. You don't have to have an engineering degree anymore. So you start Atari, Pong. I'll never forget. I was a college freshman. The bar had a Pong set. First thing I'd ever seen. It was a sit-down table.
Oh, yeah.
I think I spent the entire day at that bar playing Pong. Silly game, but it's so much a part of our culture that you could put it on the screen today. They do it in movies sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You see it, people go, oh! They know immediately.
Exactly.
Then there was the Breakout, which was just Pong sideways.
Well, you know, and that was done by Steve Jobs, Steve Wozniak.
Yes, and there's a whole story behind that one. Quite an interesting story. Woz is a good friend. We talked to him a lot, and he forgave Steve the fact that Steve pocketed the fee from Atari for writing
the bonus.
The bonus, because he did it so fast, because Woz was so good.
Oh, savant.
You think so?
Absolutely.
His goal always was, and I hear this from a lot of brilliant designers, eliminate chips. Can I do it in fewer chips? Can I do it simpler? Can I do it simpler?
Simpler and simpler, yeah.
And you just iterate until you get it so clean and pure, it can't be made any better, and then you're done.
Yeah.
It's kind of neat. Do you still do any engineering or anything like that?
Oh, yeah.
Woodworking, what do you do?
I still like to tinker with chips. I still tinker a little bit with software. I always design stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of times now, because software is so good and powerful, that I do things. It takes me a Saturday sometimes,
right?
But it's really joyful to me.
We're very fortunate to have lived in this era and to see. I mean, we've seen so much change over the last 40 years.
Not as much as we should have.
Really? Why not? Why do you think?
We have a major part of our society which is really dysfunctional, and that's our school systems. And if kids were taught properly, I mean, every kid who graduates from high school should know a little bit about entrepreneurship, a little bit about economics.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And
because nowadays they need to create their own job.
Exactly.
They cannot go out of school and expect a job. They have to make it.
They should be able to market on eBay. They should. I mean, there's what I'd call foundational skills that are really different. I mean,
it's not reading, writing, arithmetic, although you probably still need those.
Still need those, but you really don't need to know that much about life in 17th century England.
No, that's probably true. I mean, it's not a bad thing to know.
Not a bad thing to know, but
but knowing a little entrepreneurship wouldn't.
Yeah.
What do you teach? If you were going to teach somebody, there's a lot of people watching here who would probably like to do something like that. What would you teach them? How do you teach entrepreneurship?
I think that how you start is basically with marketing, because all of entrepreneurship starts with marketing in some ways.
Yeah,
you're thinking about somebody's wants.
That's where you started in advertising,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. And so, what I would do is I would start kids with their own eBay business or Craigslist business.
Just say, hey, you see all those toys? You want a new toy? Figure out how to sell them on Craigslist or on eBay.
And you learn how to ship, you know how to pack.
Oh, interesting.
And that.
Did you do that with your kids? You have 8 kids.
I have 8 kids.
Did you do that with your kids?
Yes.
And are they entrepreneurs? Some of them? All of them?
All to a certain degree.
Yeah.
They've gone in slightly different grade. Like I have a filmmaker, which
that's entrepreneurial.
And he did a Kickstarter, and
good for him.
You know, and they shot. I have a really serious entrepreneur who is actually doing an incubator in maybe the coolest space. It's this building that the offices are stacked shipping containers, and
wow,
it's going to be really.
Where's
cool.
that?
It's in Los Angeles.
Wow. How interesting.
It's called 2-Bit Circus.
I like the name.
I do too.
He's still in the carnival business, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know, he started Sin Labs, which got to be really big.
Oh, yeah.
And he just decided he wanted to go off and do something that was even crazier.
That's neat. Oh, you must be very proud.
I am.
So the foundational skill is marketing.
And then I think you need to decide the next one is really team building. You know, today what VCs are looking for, what angels are looking for, is the team. It's the group.
Mm-hmm. You can't do it by yourself.
You can't do it by yourself. Well, you can do a lot of things by yourself, but what you can't do is get funding from other people. They want a team to keep everybody honest and to really have a rounded set of capabilities.
Right.
And so discard all your worthless friends and only focus on really good, capable friends.
No more worthless friends.
Yeah. My mom used to always tell me that.
Your friends in ne'er-do-wells are not good for you. If he said to jump off a bridge, would you? Yeah, I wish I could tell my kids to get rid of their ne'er-do-well friends. That's a very good point. Yeah, you surround yourself with what you want to be. And that's a very good point. Do you work with any of your kids? Are any of them working with you at the stuff you're doing?
I work with all of them. In fact, I have one of my sons with me on this trip. And
that's your son?
No. No.
I was going to say,
he's
too
not
good
here.
looking. I don't.
And but I took him to a VC meeting this morning.
Cool.
And I wanted to have him be kind of an apprentice, see what I do for a living. And he's 22.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'll show him what it is to present to a VC.
There's a wonderful story in the Steve Jobs biography when the antenna gate is going down. Jobs is in Hawaii with his family. He brings his son back. He says, I want you to see this. His son's like 13, or maybe he's a little older. He's a high school kid. I want you to see this. And he sits in on all the meetings, all the crisis planning, the whole thing. What a great education for a kid to get to watch business operating at that level.
Oh, not just that. I used to take my kids on internationally or domestically, and they'd sit right in with me. And it was really good because we were in a cab with my son Tyler going to a business meeting, and I was telling him what I expected to happen in this business meeting. And in describing it to him, sort of not really dumbing it down, but making it simple in context, I realized that I'd made a mistake. That what I thought I'd want, I really didn't want. And I redevised the pitch.
On the fly.
On the fly. And I it saved me a couple of $1 million, and
talking it out to your son gave you the insight. Yeah, sometimes sometimes that's good to do that. So Syzygy then became Atari, and Atari is a Go position, a Go term.
Yeah, it's like a polite warning to your opponent that you're about to capture a big bunch of his pieces.
It's like saying check. You say Atari?
Precisely.
Oh, how interesting.
It's also like a bullseye, jackpot. It kind of literally means win.
It's a good name for a company.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Are you a Go player? Is that?
I am.
Interesting.
In fact, I am keynoting the GoCon on August 1st in North Carolina.
Go it's interesting. It's a Japanese game, and I think is it 108 by 108? It's a big.
No, it's 19 by 19.
Oh, it's just 19 by 19. It feels like more.
It feels like.
And you have little black and white stones that you place, and it's a very deceptively simple game.
Deceptively simple. It's very logical, and yet they say it's the only game to date that really blends left and right hemisphere cognition. Because there's a lot of things that feel pretty.
Right.
Because they're elegant.
Right.
And you can't put your finger logically on why that is. But if you're really playing a good game,
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and there will be a corner that feels ugly to you.
And you'll know that's the problem.
And then you have to analyze it.
What's wrong? Yeah.
What's wrong? It's a funny thing.
Well, and I think it's telling because chess has been solved. Computers play better than humans.
Yes.
Because it's pure calculation. But Go is so complex. Despite the fact that it seems much simpler than chess, it's actually so much more complex. No computer plays good Go.
I've given, there's several Go, computerized Go things. I can give every program that I've gotten, and I've asked for all of them, I can give them 9 stones and still flip him.
What, are you a rated Go player?
Oh, yeah, I'm rated.
What Dan are you?
I'm a 2 Dan.
Oh, wow.
Knee Dan.
Wow. So actually, that's actually very good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But
it's pretty damn good. I'm impressed.
Actually, I'm not as good. I'm not playing at knee Dan level now.
Yeah.
There's kind of, for me, there are 2 different ratings. One is my tournament rating, which is about 2 to 3 stones higher than I play when I'm lazy.
That's the problem, is one must focus the whole time, and it's kind of hard. There's too much interesting stuff going on.
And you have a couple of glasses of wine for dinner, and then you forget it.
So as I've been told, that certainly there's no Go program that could play at knee Dan. Not even close. Not even close. And that just tells you something about this game. I think that's interesting. Did you ever attempt a Go game? Never.
Never.
You learned. You knew it was hopeless.
I've never worked on time travel.
There's 2 things one should not do. So Pong is huge. 1975, Pong comes out, something like that.
72.
72.
75 for the home.
Ah, that's the breakthrough. The 2600. It actually was a standalone Pong game first.
Yeah.
Just Pong. That's all it did. It was 2 knobs. And then in 77, the Atari 2600, the VCS.
Right.
Huge.
Massive.
The world goes video game crazy. And I remember in those days, I was in the Silicon Valley. The Atari was, if you worked at Atari, you were like king of the world, baby.
Oh, yeah.
They walked around, those Atari engineers walked around like gods.
$0 to $2 billion faster than any other company in the history of the United States.
What was that like for you? It's a fast ride.
It was a fast ride. I was pretty insufferable.
I have to say, the people who worked for you were. I know a few of them. They were the king of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then it crashed almost as fast as it took off. What happened?
But that was after I left.
Warner Communications happened.
What really happened is Warner didn't understand the business that they were in. They perceived that they were in the record business.
Because that was their business.
That was their business. And they felt that they could just build cartridges forever. and that they didn't need to worry about building a new player.
Oh, that's interesting. Boy, that's not kind of analogous to where we are right now with the old Xbox and PlayStation 3. They haven't done updates in a long time on those.
I don't think they will.
Because we're moving away from physical media?
No, it's because the cost for incremental, I mean, I think it's silly to say my real-time visuals are better than your real-time visuals. Right now,
it doesn't really matter.
If you are more than X feet away, you cannot tell the difference between a good Xbox image and video.
Right. And isn't it about the gameplay anyway?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And plus, right now, to just double resolution, you have to take... Heat is the real problem.
Yeah. Well, we know that with the Xbox.
Yeah.
And the Sony PlayStation, that's a supercomputer. That cell processor is a supercomputer.
Yeah, and so to up the ante just a little bit is...
the economics don't work.
The economics don't work. I projected 5 years ago that this was going to be the last iteration.
Interesting. You may be right. I mean, Microsoft said we're going to have a new Xbox next year.
But it's going to be...
How can it be much... They're going to have to do something besides better graphics. They're going to have to do Kinect or...
Yeah.
Headgear or something.
It will be derivative, not revolutionary.
Yeah. Really interesting stuff. We're talking to Nolan Bushnell. Okay, we've covered Atari. You sold it to Warner. You watched that thing kind of go bad. They made a lot of bad games, too. That was another problem. God, they were bulldozing game cartridges.
Well, though, that's a whole nother chapter.
And we talked before, but there was Jack Tramiel of Commodore bought it and then folded it into his company, and then and now it's a publicly traded French company, started by Infogram. But it's still a brand. You know what's? That is a great brand.
It is a good
brand.
That
Atari logo, I don't know, anybody of my vintage looks at that thing, and we know. That was a great logo, a great brand.
It's cool.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Chuck E. Cheese, on the other hand, a little weird.
Always has been.
It was a huge success, though, right? I mean, how many Chuck E. Cheese restaurants were there?
There's about 580 now.
580. And they're still around.
Oh, yeah.
Are you still involved at all?
No.
No, you got out of that business. Well, we're going to talk about what Nolan is up to now. And, you know, I'm watching the chat room, and there's a lot of people in the chat room with a lot of thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. We could talk more. You see, we have people who worked at Infogram when they bought the Atari name. People want me to ask you about Steve Jobs. Did you know Steve when he worked at Atari?
Very well.
You saw that memo that he wrote at Atari. He just sold for, what was it, $27,000?
Right.
Because it's handwritten. I want to ask you, do you mind if I ask you a little about Steve? All right, we'll talk about that in a little bit more. We got a lot more to talk about. First, though, I want to tell you about backup. I bet there was a good backup strategy at Atari. Gosh, you know, you're making stuff. You got one copy of it. That is the crown jewels. What about on your hard drive? What's on your hard drive? Pictures of your babies being born, your wedding, maybe your financial records, emails you can't lose, addresses you need. There's always something on that hard drive, and I bet you, many of you watching right now are not backing it up. Or you think you got a backup, and maybe if you checked it, it wouldn't be good. It's so important. This is why I want you to find out about Carbonite.com, because this is what you need. It's automatic. It's continuous. Automatic is good because you don't have to remember it. Continuous means you make a change to a document, it's backed up. So you don't have to worry, I just wrote 4 paragraphs. Is it safe? It is. And it's in the cloud. So if there's a fire, if there's a real disaster in your home or your business, you know you got the data, and that's everything. What would happen in your small business if there were a fire? Do you have backups outside the business? How long before you'd get back up and running? How much would it cost you? Carbonite, incredible. $59 a year for everything on one computer. They have plans for small businesses starting at $229 a year. A great deal. And you can find out more. You can try it free right now. Go to Carbonite.com. They've got a 2-week trial. Just use our name, Triangulation, if you would. And there's a reason, because if you decide to buy after the trial, and I really want you to try it, you know, you've got to get a sense of how this is going to work for you. If you decide to buy, you'll get 2 months free, 14 months for the price of 12, but you have to use Triangulation as the offer code during the trial, and then it kind of goes over into the 2 months free. Carbonite online backup. It's backup done right. The backup the way I design it, if I were going to design it. And that's because that great guy, David Friend. You might have known David. He was at ARP. Came out of MIT. Really interesting engineer. Same vintage. Carbonite.com. Offer code Triangulation. Steve Jobs. So you knew him very well.
Very well.
Did you hire him?
He actually showed up
barefoot
and said, "I want a job here, and I'm not going to leave until you give me one." And Al Alcorn did.
That's great. Al must have seen something, although they tell the story that Al said, Steve, you're going to be working overnight because you don't bathe enough.
That was actually my idea.
Was it you? So that's true.
That's true. But it wasn't really the smell that much. It was really more that Jobs didn't abide fools gladly.
Even then, he knew he was the smartest guy in the room.
No, but he knew that a lot of the people around him were stupider. I'm actually writing a book right now.
Are you?
Yeah, it's called Finding the Next Steve Jobs. And it's really about how you can take a company that is not creative and turn it into a creative company. Because what a lot of people don't realize is most companies are toxic to innovation by the way they're set up. And it's no surprise that certain companies do all the innovations because they have a corporate culture that is nurturing to innovation as opposed to toxic to it.
So what happens that makes a company toxic to innovation? I mean, doesn't every company want to be innovative?
Managers.
Yeah.
And fear.
Fear and managers. All right, tell me about that.
Managers, by their nature, are empowered by saying no.
Right. There's nothing to gain by saying yes.
Exactly. And so the more levels of management that you have to go through, the more probability you have of having innovation always ends up on the cutting room floor.
Because people want to play it safe?
Yeah.
It's risky to try something new, to do something different.
Right.
That's actually very telling. It's one of the reasons the music industry had a hard time adjusting to the internet. It's
exactly
why television's having a hard time adjusting. It's always easier to say, we're just going to keep doing the way we do it.
Oh, but it's even worse than that. You say, I do a lot of speaking for companies and things like that. And I say, how many people here believe in innovation? 100%.
Everybody does.
Everybody does.
Who's going to say no to that?
And then I have this slide that has 2 or 3 innovations on it. And it says, how many people believe in these?
What a terrible idea. Yeah, not on my watch.
So in the abstract, everybody thinks innovation, but on the specific, it's not.
Well, like what? What do people? What's an innovation that people say, "Oh, I'm not doing that"?
Well,
getting up, sleeping 3 hours sleeping 3 hours on, 3 hours off, 3 hours on, 3 hours off. Well, there's an innovation. People try and they say it works really well.
Well, right now, we've got this product called Scrambles.
Okay, this is cool, by the way. And SCR, in fact, it's on the web, on the lower third, scrambls.com.
But you cannot open a newspaper without identity theft, without kids, seeing that people are stealing your information, reading your emails, doing things. And we have a very interesting, very simple to use product that allows private control and messaging. I mean, I can't imagine.
It encrypts your messages.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is put at before the message, and it does it automatically.
Exactly. It's so simple to use. I don't think any kid under 21, and actually most adults, should be doing anything that's not encrypted.
Oh, I like that idea.
I mean, the Child Safety Network has endorsed us, the PTA. But more than that, just, one of the benefits of yesterday was that you could actually forget things.
Not anymore.
And I can assure you...
I've read your Wikipedia page. Everything lives.
Yeah. And I can tell you that I'm glad that my Wikipedia does not go back to my high school, because I did some really bad stuff.
But everybody who's in high school today, it will.
Yeah.
Because they're recording it on the internet right now, and even if they're not, their friends are.
Now, if you use scrambles, all your friends can still read it.
I'm signing up right now.
Oh, yeah. Everybody should do. And
do you make money on this? How do you make money on this?
We'll figure that out someday. It's free.
I'm glad to see that you have kept up with the Silicon Valley way of doing things. Well, we'll worry about that some other time.
Well, it turns out...
So wait a minute. Does this go through your server, or it's just software?
It's just software. What it is we don't know your secrets.
Okay.
And we provide what we call keys, private and public keys and that sort of thing.
Right.
So we have a key server.
So this is public key crypto?
Exactly.
Oh, so it's strong.
It's real strong.
128-bit to 1024 bits, do you know?
I don't.
Yeah. I'm sure it's
strong enough. And it's, but the real thing about it is you can revoke the keys.
Oh.
So all of a sudden, all the messages that you've had gone, I mean, they're still there encrypted.
But if your friend copied and pasted it.
Yeah, nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect. This is cool. So why did you do this?
2 or 3 reasons. I've been fascinated by cryptography for a long time. I've been on Wave Systems boards. To me, cryptography is really about mathematical games, and I was a big I grew up on Martin
Gardner and the Scientific American.
I mean, that was my childhood.
Absolutely the best.
And so I kept thinking about clouds, and I don't want any of my data on the cloud unless it's encrypted. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't anything right. I actually don't want to have any of my stuff on Dropbox unless it's encrypted.
Well, now we know that, in fact, their encryption is not private. They can see it.
Exactly.
Right.
So private, to me, means private. I know it. Nobody else does.
Private is actually private.
It's really private.
Yeah.
And so right now, if you really look at things that are really, really behind the time, communication between doctor and patient, most of that stuff, do I want my blood work to be coming over?
It really should be private, yeah.
It should be private.
Yeah.
But if it's encrypted, am I happy with it? And so, anyway, I felt that I can't envision a future without private communication.
I used PGP, and I have a PGP key, but I can never get anybody I know to play along.
Well,
I feel like everybody should encrypt so that otherwise, when you encrypt, it looks like it's a red flag. Hey, they're encrypting. There must be something in there.
Right.
If everybody encrypts all the time, then privacy is assured.
But more than that, the problem with PGP and some of these is how do you get the keys around?
Right. Well, there's key servers, but you're right. It's geeky.
It's geeky.
It's geeky.
And with us, it's just trivial. It's more difficult than setting up circles or anything like that.
So initially when you scramble, everybody who's a Scrambles member can see the encrypted text. And you just do it by putting 2 @ signs on either end.
Right.
But then you could create groups.
Or you can also do
everything automatically.
Right.
And then, but you create groups of who can see what, and you can make it as narrow or as broad as you choose.
Yeah. Like I do a secret word every day on Twitter.
So what's your Twitter handle? So I want to see what this looks like on Twitter.
N. Bushnell.
So some of the stuff on Twitter is going to be incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Unless you're a Scrambles member.
Exactly.
Oops, that's
I'm not sure if I did.
That's Nosh. I have Nosh Bushnell.
N. Bushnell?
N-B-U-S-H-N-E-L-L. Is Mr. Nosh Bushnell.
Oh, try Nolan Bushnell. Okay. I'm sorry.
Nosh got there first, Nolan. There we go. Nolan K. Bushnell. That's you. I recognize your face. So some of this stuff is... Oh, there's a scrambled one. The secret word for the day is... And that's a scrambled word.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a dirty word. No, actually not.
But that's good incentive. So it's right here. See, the secret word for the day is scrambles. Is that unscramble at scrambles.com?
Cool. I love it. I love it. I use it. You know, I use it on Facebook, Twitter. But what's really fun is just sending something to my wife or my kids that I know is secret.
I'm going to try using that because I could use a little privacy. I live in public, though. And I think there's also an argument to be made about being public. There's some real value to being a public.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
But not everything.
Not every. The whole point is control.
It's control.
You get to choose.
Yeah.
Not anybody else.
I mean, nobody who really wants to be a totally private person is on Twitter. They're in a cabin in Montana.
Right. Yeah, you don't need Twitter if you really want to be private.
Yeah.
But there's times we want to share.
Precisely.
And times we don't. I still want to talk about innovation in corporate life because I think that's. You still haven't told me how we can make a non-toxic company, and I would like to know that.
You're going to have to buy my book.
Oh man, it's not even out yet. What's it called?
It's called Finding the Next Steve Jobs.
Oh, that's right. You said that. Yeah.
And here's my promise: I will come back on when it hits the market.
Fantastic.
And we will.
Steve was good at that, didn't he? And now, do you think he created a company that will, posthumously continue to be innovative and creative?
Highly probable.
Because he created the environment that will perpetuate that.
Yeah.
So it's possible to do that.
It's possible. I mean, you got to understand a lot about what was going on. It turns out that there were a lot of innovations that happened at Atari because we were growing so fast and everybody had more money because we couldn't raise money. Everybody thought video games were stupid.
Oh, boy, were they wrong.
Yeah. And so we never
know,
had enough cash.
They thought they were right after Atari's fumble, which was, again, after your tenure. And then Nintendo came along and everything changed again.
Right.
And now we know that there's a lot of money in gaming. You couldn't raise venture capital.
I raised a little bit, but we were already at 40 million in sales. But the amount of money that I needed for the 2600, because it was a Christmas product, it looked like it was going to sell 500,000. That says that we needed at least 100 million of cash.
Because you have to ramp up. You have to
ramp up and all that.
Yeah.
And so I sold because if there had been a really good market like today, I wouldn't have had to sell Atari.
Interesting.
And the world would be
Warner had the money, the capital that was going to be required to make that 2600.
Precisely.
But you couldn't because you couldn't raise money.
Yeah.
That is something that's very exciting about today, is that it is possible to, as an entrepreneur, to come out into the world and say, I've got a great idea, I could do a proof of concept inexpensively on Amazon or Google or one of these engines, and here it is, and then there's an ecosystem of people who will give you money.
Exactly.
But if everybody agrees that gaming is a bad idea, you still can't raise any money.
Yeah.
Yeah? If everybody agrees, social media is not going to happen, then you still can't raise money.
Well, you understand that for many years, people have called venture capital lemming capital.
Right.
They go to the same conventions, that sort of thing.
They know what's the next big thing. And if you're not it, forget it.
So what's wrong with this picture? Having a list of the areas of innovation. The existence.
How would you know?
The existence of the list says it's not going to be innovative.
It's not innovative.
It's derivative.
It's existing. Yeah.
It's derivative.
Yeah. Innovation is out of left field. We don't know. You can't plan for innovation.
Exactly.
Very interesting.
So, I got to give you one more commercial here.
Okay.
I've got a company called Brain Rush that literally.
This I like because I do not want to get old.
Well, think about how powerful it will be if everyone can learn 10 times faster.
Yes.
And keep it for the rest of your life. Think about what it'd be like right now if you remembered everything you learned in high school and college.
If only.
If only.
Is that possible? Well, they're going to take a break. Yeah. We're going to come back. We'll talk about brainrush.com. This is another one of your new ventures. I'm really intrigued by this. For some reason, I thought this was about anti-aging. About keeping your brain
That's
young.
another one.
Oh, you're doing that too?
Yeah. I've got ADD. Okay.
A lot of entrepreneurs do. Do you think you are a little ADD?
I absolutely know.
Yeah. Yeah. there's something about it. First of all, anti-authoritarian, so you got to go your own way.
Right.
And it's good to have this kind of...
No, what it is, we get bored easily.
Easily bored.
And very curious.
Bingo.
But, you know, when I'm really, what I call down the rabbit hole.
You hyper-focus.
I hope hyper-focus.
And that's what ADD people do very well, too. That's why they play Go, or I play chess. Hyper-focus.
Yeah.
See, it's not so bad. It's an adaptation to modern society.
It's you know, if you can't fix it, call it a feature.
I love it. I'm having so much fun. I hope you are too, with Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, Chuck E. Cheese, Pizza Time Theater, and now Brain Rush. We're going to talk about that in a second. I do want to talk a little bit about Ford Motor Company. This is a neat story because here's a car company. I mean, this is about as early industrial era as you can get. More than 100 years old. Henry Ford builds the Rouge plant. I mean, talk about an innovation. People want to buy the Model T. The car, when Henry Ford comes along, is an elite product. It is not for the everyman. It is for the rich. He says, I'm going to build a plant in Dearborn, Michigan, that is like 3 miles by 2 miles. It's going to have a railroad line going into it, and lumber and iron ore are going to come in one end, and Model Ts are going to come out the other end. This Rouge plant is still operating. We were there. We went on the assembly line. And it's just, it's huge. It's massive. And it's amazing. And of course, it was the beginning, really, of the mass-produced industrial era, you know. But how do you take a company like that and stay current, stay modern, stay 21st century? How do you reinvent yourself? And actually, I think a lot of credit to Bill Ford, who's the current chairman of the board, who said, you know, we really have to think about who we are, keep our values, and that key value, which is to make an affordable vehicle for to put everybody on the road, transformed American life, and it continues to be the key value, and to be a good citizen of the world. And that's really what Ford is doing today. And I think it's just, I'm really thrilled to be part of the Ford family. You know, I drive my Mustang, and I love it. I can't wait to get this 2012 Ford Focus, the electric. They're doing electric across the whole line, but Ford wanted to do it right. They were a little bit, you know, people were saying, well, where's Ford's electric vehicle? And I know it was Alan Mullally, who is engineering focused from day one, the CEO, who said, no, if we're going to do it, we got to do it right. We got to do it so that we can do it in such a way that all of our assembly lines can build any kind of engine it's needed, whether it's gas, diesel, electric, plug-in hybrid, and for across the line. So what they've done is they've re-engineered every vehicle. The first, of course, the 2012 Focus. Next year, the 2013 Fusion, the Energy, which is a plug-in hybrid. And eventually, all of the lines will have all of these choices depending on what consumers want and need. They also see the car, the vehicle, as a platform, which I think this is very insightful. And they say, look, we don't know what's going to, you know, a car is a durable good. You're going to be driving it for years. We don't know what you want to do with it in 2 or 3 years. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a platform with sensors and smarts and intelligence, and then we're going to give developers APIs, and they can write software to ride on this platform. And that's what Ford's AppLink is all about. It's an API to the car's computer, to Ford's Sync, to the speech technologies. And Ford has done it, too, with their My Ford mobile app. They actually, this is kind of, I would say it's a reference or a demonstration of what's possible. If you go to your Ford dealer, EV-certified Ford dealer, and take the 2012 Ford Focus for a test drive, bring your BlackBerry or your iPhone or your Android phone, and you'll be able to install this software. It's free, that connects with the car and does some amazing things. For instance, it tells you where the car is, which is, you know, for me, that's extremely useful. It tells you where the nearest charging station is. You can even control the charging. You know the state of charge of the battery. If you're at home in the living room, you tell the car, hey, only charge at off-peak hours. I don't want to pay them. They have some gamification so you can see how much CO2 you've saved. Compare your savings with other people on the My Ford Mobile website. This is just a really good example of how you take the car, the vehicle becomes the platform, you develop for it, and you can come up with all sorts of new and innovative and interesting ways to use it. That, to me, is a 21st century car company. I think it's so wonderful to see a company like Ford, an American company, come from this industrial era and make this shift to, you know, this 21st century car company. You could be part of the fun. Ford.com/technology if you want to know more. visit your Ford dealer, drive the 2012 electric Focus, and I think you'll see what I mean. What a sweet car that is. It is difficult, you know, if you're an established, entrenched company, to look at
corporate
Kodak.
Cultures are the hardest to change.
Look at Kodak. I mean, Kodak even knew that it was going to be digital. That they bought Photo. They have they went digital cameras. They could not survive. They couldn't do it. It's so difficult.
Let me tell you an app that I want for my car.
Okay.
For hybrid.
I have some friends at Ford. I'll talk to them.
I live at the top of a hill.
Yes.
And every time I drive down the hill to work, my batteries are already charged. Right. So I can't use the potential energy of being on the top of the hill.
The regenerative braking.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is not charge it all the way.
I want it to know that I'm going home and that I want my battery to be my buffer battery to be empty when I'm at the top of the hill, so I can totally charge it as I'm taking it down.
We'll work on that.
Anyway,
that's an engineer for you right there. He's got the. This is. I tell you, we have a lot of people who are budding programmers or interested in programming, and to a man or a woman, every one of them says, "I just need a problem to solve." They say, well, tell me what to write. And I think that a great engineer is somebody who's always thinking of problems and solutions, problems and solutions, problems and solutions.
I have a heap of stuff. Some would call it a midden heap. Some would call it
compost.
The compost. But I'd say I probably have somewhere between 50 and 100 ideas that I'd like to work on.
Yeah.
And
that's not a problem for you, is it, coming up?
It's not, but here's an interesting thing to happen, and I'd really encourage everybody else to do this. Start writing down every idea you get.
Do you do that?
Oh, yeah. And then start to embellish them. Talk a little bit, how would you price it? How much do you think it would cost? You know, just, you know, turn a line into a paragraph, into a page.
Right.
And in that process, pretty soon something is going to talk to you. My projects choose me. I don't choose them.
Boy, this is what you got to teach in that class for those high school kids about entrepreneurship. It's just that exercise. Just do that exercise.
Yeah. And go to every trade show.
Because it's what, for the ideas? What are you looking for?
Just be a sponge.
Yeah.
And every trade show is a snapshot microcosm of an industry.
Right.
And when I go to Las Vegas, I will go to any trade show that's there.
You don't care what the business is.
I don't care what the business is.
Hairdressers
and
automotive parts.
I found myself in a carpet convention one time. That was probably as close to a waste of time for me as
I was going to say. I don't think there's a lot of innovation in the carpet industry.
Well, you know, the
actually there is. You know what?
Oh yeah, there is.
There is. There's a company that does. I was just reading
carpet
about
tiles.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is innovation. Carpet tiles.
Well, there was a big conflict in the carpet industry between loop and cut pile.
Uh-huh. So you did learn something at that trade show. Who won?
I have no idea.
So tell me about Brain Rush. So can anybody do this?
Yeah. Go into brainrush.com or Wordplay. If you want to learn Spanish faster than anything else, you can get Spanish vocabulary 10 times faster.
El caballo.
Yeah.
El mono, el conejo, el perro. So what am I learning here?
You're learning vocabulary.
Oh, good. All right.
10 minutes a day, you will learn.
Now, what is the theory behind this? What is?
It's thalamic engagement, spaced repetition, adaptive practice.
Oh, I am learning. La vaca. La vaca is cow. El perro, the dog. So I'm clicking. Now, are you getting audio from me? Because there's audio on this as well. La vaca.
Well, see, what happens is when you are...
I don't know.
If you engage, the minute you make a decision,
el cerdo,
it's more sticky. So
el
a lecture,
gato,
a book, those are all passive. In this case,
el mono,
you take the normal thing, lecture, homework, test on Friday, collapse it all into play.
Oh, I'm losing. Wait a minute. Let me stop. Go ahead.
Collapse it all into
This was play. This was fun.
Yeah.
I had a good time on that.
Exactly.
And now I know how to say monkey in Spanish. I never knew that.
Right.
El mono.
Huh. But the whole idea is to engage your brain and enter the state of flow. There's
Flow.
There's a book on flow. There's a great web TED Talk on flow.
Yeah.
And it is what we do when we invented video games. And it was the whole idea of keeping halfway between something that's too hard and too easy.
It's what happens when the athlete, it's clicking. It's not
getting
conscious.
in the zone.
It's in the zone is what they call it. You're
Right.
it's happening and you're perfection without effort.
Exactly.
So that same process happens in brain.
In video games, and it turns out to put your brain on superchargers for learning. And so we believe that once we deploy, and it's a freemium model.
So I can go to BrainRush right now and what
Go into wordplay.
Wordplay,
That
okay.
will be the full
so
thing
this is
for
the,
Spanish
you
language.
call it adaptive practice technology.
Yeah.
It's a game. I should get this for my son.
Absolutely. Everybody who is listening right now should spend 10 minutes a day on BrainRush or Wordplay.
Wordplay.com. Yeah.
And
It's free.
And it's free.
What do I?
And
so
you will
said
know
it's freemium.
Spanish so that you'll be able to order in Mexican restaurants. You'll be able to.
This is great.
I'm telling you, it's and it's the future of education.
Now, are you still trying to make money, or you've got your pile? You don't need to make any money.
You keep score with money.
So you are still.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I love the process, and I think it's cheating when you just go in and you fund something.
And
like
say, I don't care. I don't need to make money, or I'm gonna give you some money, or.
And
You
I'm
want to
not-
do it right from step one. Yeah.
And quite candidly, nobody's going to do any tin cups for me, but I'm not as rich as I used to be. I found out that I can, in fact, spend it faster than I can make it.
A lesson for all of us. Fortunately, you have 8 kids, all of whom are doing, sounds like, very well.
Well, put them all through college, put them into private
trust
schools.
me. I know,
come on, give me a break.
Wow. Hey, this looks great. My son is 17. He's going to be a senior in high school. He's Spanish 3. He's going to fail if he doesn't have something like this.
He will knock it out of the park. We've had teachers who have been using this for their Spanish 1. They have a Spanish-like vocabulary B.
Yeah.
Their Spanish 1 kids took 1, 2, and 3 against Spanish 2 and Spanish 3 kids.
But you talk about entrenched innovation in education, education is so ripe for innovation.
Right.
Particularly because of digital technology and the internet. The education model is 18th century.
But see, and the problem isn't the teacher. Believe it or not.
Teachers are,
They're the salt of the earth.
they're committed. This is all they care about.
Yeah. The problem is the classroom. It's the worst structure.
It is terrible, yeah.
And so what you really want to do is you want to free up the teachers so that they can spend all their time one-on-one with the kids.
Exactly.
And then let them use Wordplay or BrainRush for all what I call the drudgery. We can make all the drudgery learning simple and fun.
Yep.
And so that the exciting stuff, like the teachers who are teaching Spanish, they love it because they now conduct their complete lesson in Spanish. The kids speak Spanish from the day they walk into the room. They can work on syntax and grammar.
Right.
Bingo.
They do the thing that what a teacher does best, which is that one-on-one interaction,
One-on-one.
not the drill and kill. The kid does it at home. It's fun. Same thing with lectures.
Yeah, and a little bit about rolling the R's. There's some weird.
Yeah, there's some stuff a human you need to.
You
have
got to have the human there.
Yeah.
The teacher is great.
Wordplay.com if you want to know more. Scrambles without the E.com if you want to scramble your stuff.
And everybody has to do that.
And you're going to come back and teach us about what is it?
How to have a creative, nurturing company.
My staff is going, yeah, that sounds good. How soon can you come back?
Plus, I've got some great stories about jobs.
Oh, are they in the book? Are they going to be in the book?
Well, you know.
Tell us one. Just give us one.
Okay.
One little gem, and then I'll let you go.
I bought it. You know, I've always been one of these guys, go big or go home, you know. I bought a 15,000 square foot house in Paris.
Ooh, how nice. Where?
Right on the Champ Mars, right between
Eiffel Tower
Militaire,
right
the Eiffel Tower right there. Anyway, I got it refurbished and decided to have a housewarming. Well, damnedest thing, I sent the invitations just like I would a party at Woodside. Everybody showed up in Paris. Everybody.
Yeah, who would have thought? They all
thought?
got on a plane.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
Man.
It was just an excuse, you know. It was June and everything, and Jobs showed up, and we had a good time and spent the next day in Paris, and you know, Steve Jobs in Paris in the early '80s. It was a giggle.
That's all you have to do. Just paint that picture. Were you kind of a mentor for him in business and so forth?
You know, I hadn't really realized it until the Isaacson book that he clearly viewed me as that, and I liked him a lot, and we used to hang out. I could basically throw a rock onto his roof from my house in Woodside, and he'd come up on a Saturday, and we'd go up and sit on a rock, and he'd drink tea. He had these hand sewn tea bags that must have come from the
some monk in Tibet making them.
And I had a coffee, and we'd sit and think big thoughts and have some fun.
Did you get to talk to him towards the end? Because I know one of the things he did was get people in and have last words.
Not really towards the end. Yeah. It was probably I saw him about a year before he died.
Yeah, well, he was pretty sick even then. Yeah. Nolan, I wish I had another 10 days we could spend together. I hope you will come back.
I'd like that. Did you know my daughter just lives in Sebastopol?
Well, that's just around the corner. Please, every time you visit her, you have to visit us.
You got a deal.
All right. Nolan Bushnell, scrambles without the E.com to make privatized all of your tweets and other stuff, your social media. And then this wordplay looks really, really interesting. Wordplay.com. And it's free. What's the freemium model? What do I have to pay? Is there anything yet?
Not yet.
You aren't all about making the money. Come on.
No, trust me, I am.
Come on. It's all free. Nolan Bushnell, the legend.
Didn't you know the corner drug dealer?
First one's free.
One's always free.
Come on, kid. Have a word play on me.
On me.
On me. Thank you so much. We do Triangulation not enough. I wish we could just do this all day, every day when we get people like Nolan Bushnell. It makes it so much fun. Our new time, I hope you got it, is 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 2200 UTC. If you want to watch live, and it's always great to watch live because there's stuff before and after that you don't get to see. But we do make on-demand versions available on iTunes, everywhere podcasts are, or just go to twit.tv/TRI. Thank you for joining us. Do we know who's next week? Or is it a mystery? Nobody knows. It'll be somebody wonderful, but not as good as Nolan Bushnell.
No.
I've been waiting for this one for a long time.
This was fun.
Thank you, Nolan. Really. Who is it? Kevin Upton? Eben Upton. Oh, Eben Moglen? Oh, we'll figure it out. Evan Upton. It might be Eben Moglen, who is the guy who created the GNU public license. I'll see who that is. Anyway, Nolan Bushnell, thank you. Thank you all for being here. We'll see you next time.
Good fun.
On Triangulation.
No.
Now, when you say machine code or assembler, you were doing it in machine code.
Machine code.
You knew the code.
I didn't say it. Now, I wasn't good at it, but I could do it.
Was that because no assemblers existed, or?
No, it was really...
It was just in your head.
I wanted to know what was going on.
Right.
You know, it was kind of important for me to kind of, well, at that time, to know how you managed memory. Mm-hmm. And of course, you had to do all that.
You had to do everything for yourself, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready, Leo.
All right.
You want to check the shots?
No, I don't. I trust you. If the shot is good, I believe it. That's a single. I like it.
Okay. And, oops.
There's Nolan.
Scrambles with no E.
So you're not doing Wink any. U-Wink is not around, or is it?
U-Wink is turned into tap code. Sold it to Tapcode, and Tapcode is doing software primarily in Asia right now.
And Scrambles is the current...
Well, Scrambles is, I've been on the board of a company called Wave, and I am...
Oh, this is clever.
I'm doing really some interesting stuff there. And, you know, every once in a while, I see something that I believe will move the world. And Scrambles is that.
Very interesting. Well, we'll definitely talk about that.
And then I'm doing this educational project, and of course I'm doing some consulting with Atari.
Are you? Oh, no. Well, I can't wait to talk about that. Hold on. We don't have an Atari lying around here. Do we have an 800 around here somewhere?
Nor should you. No.
Oh, well, I'm going to tell you a story in a second.
Okay.
I'm ready. If you give me a single, I'll start. Oh, okay. We don't have a 2600, do we? No.
Oh, that's a good thing for an
Isn't that
iPad.
cool? Yeah.
That is a very good
Oh, no,
product.
I love it. We have both the Atari interfaces for the
Yeah.
iPad. Do you get royalties for that or anything, do you? You do. Good.
I mean, Atari does.
Yeah, but I mean, well, but you sold it, but you still get something. Oh, good.
Oh, no, not me personally.
Not you personally.
Yeah, but
No.
Atari does.
So you're out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad. So is Warner Communications, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
You can begin whenever you're ready, Leo.
Wait, and then did they sell it to the Jack Tramiel? And then what happened after that?
Then Jack decided that video games were too hard and computers were too hard, and so he decided to go into, take the corporate shell and turn it into a disk drive company. Oh, yeah, we needed another one of those.
Yeah, that was a good move.
And the...
that gaming thing's never going anywhere.
No. And then the IP was sold to Mattel.
Mattel.
Oh, not Mattel, Hasbro.
That's probably who this is getting.
No. Then it went to a French company, Infogrames.
But they make a lot of games, so that's okay.
And they totally screwed it up.
Oh, boy.
And then they rechanged the name to Atari and opened up, but it's still it's a French public company today.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. Wow, what a strange trip that was.
It is what I'd call the survival of the abused.
Oh, we're going to have fun. Okay, tell me when you're ready, because I don't want to...
We are ready.
All the jewels are now spilled on the floor.
Yeah.
We're going to have to pick them
Save
all
for
up.
the show.
No, there's so many more.
Oh, good. Oh, good. People really enjoyed that. Eben Upton. I don't know who Eben Upton is. Oh, who am I? It's Raspberry Pi.
Exactly.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So that's the $30 Linux, what did involve Linux, computer. It's just it's a breadboard little thing that you can...
It's kind of like an Arduino.
It's like Arduino, only it's a Raspberry Pi.
A short review on this morning's floss.
Oh, good.
So catch Floss, and you'll see
watch Floss Weekly
5 or 10 minutes that Aaron did on his
People are
Raspberry
really
Pi.
excited about Raspberry Pi. This is a
Well,
really
see, this is
product.
really important. I mean, next time I come, I'd really like to riff on the maker movement, Arduino.
It's very exciting.
And, you know, you asked me about entrepreneurship. Everybody should know how to play with an Arduino or Raspberry Pi or some of the open source.
Not everybody has that mind, though. It's easy for you to say because you have that mind.
Well, but here's the thing. Once they play around a little bit with it, they see possibilities. And then they don't have to be good at it. Because what are we trying to do? We're trying to invent the future.
Right.
And we invent the future piece by piece by piece by seeing a problem, solving it with a piece of stuff.
But if you don't have tools in your head, you have no way.
Yeah,
you have no language, no vocabulary to solve
precisely.
it. Yeah.
And this democratization of technology, both in software, through Linux, through the Arduino, and all the, I call it tinker toys.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, you know, to build a toy, to build something is hard.
Right.
Once you've got a tinker toy set, you can sort of slap things together because there's some constraints. It's a constrained and yet powerful tool.
Right.
And that's what these tools give you.
Yeah. You could not conceive of building a desk or a car if you didn't know what a hammer and a screwdriver were.
Right.
You don't have to be adept at those. I think, I did a lot of programming as a hobby for fun when I was younger, and I think it's very valuable for understanding technology. It gives you that.
And you don't have to be good at it
I'm
now.
not good at it now.
Nor am I.
Yeah. But it gives you a way of thinking and an understanding of, it's a tool.
It's a tool.
You understand what the tools are. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, boy, it's challenging. I'm on the board of my kids' high school, and I keep saying, we got to teach them entrepreneurship. We got to teach them the future. And it's very hard. You're right. Everybody wants to do it, but it's hard to get it there. I don't know what.
Well, see, I think that that we can do a lot of things. Like the book right after the Finding Steve Jobs is.
Have you written any books before? You just have them all in your mind now?
No, it's. Okay, it started out with anti-aging games.
Right.
And I started doing all this thing of how do you keep your brain maximally tuned.
Right.
That was where I started. I
Right.
said, okay, I'm getting older.
Yes.
I love to live in my head.
Yes. So I better work it out.
Yeah, let's.
Me too. I
let's
feel the same
optimize.
way. Yeah.
And so I started doing all this reading about what you do to really optimize your brain.
Right.
And one of the things that you do is to do something different. Maximally different.
Right.
And so one of the tricks you use is write down all the things that you think you can't do.
Cannot do.
Cannot do. All the things you're really crappy at.
Right. That's why I started doing photography, because I'm all about audio, and I don't consider myself visually adept at all. So I thought, well, I should try something that's going to challenge that.
Yeah. So
Because that expands your...
now here's the trick. You write them all down.
yeah.
You jumble them up with the numbers, and then you throw dice. And you have to do the
You
one
have to do that.
that.
Well, give me
And-
an example. Have you done this? Give me an example of something you're bad at that you did.
That's how I tie into the fact that it said write a book. Okay.
It's like the one thing you never wanted to do.
I almost flunked freshman English, and
I admire that. And you're actually doing it.
well,
Is it
so I
painful?
decided the first book that I was going to write was science fiction,
Oh, good.
and I wrote it, and it turned, and of course I did a little studying. I learned about story
Plot.
arcs and character development, place development, all that sort of thing, and I wrote it.
You treated it as an engineer would.
I did.
It's a problem to be solved. Yeah.
Problem to be solved. And a funny thing happened. It was more like reading a book than writing a book. Like I would go to sleep at night thinking about what my characters were going to do tomorrow.
Authors tell me this, that it writes itself, that
It
these
writes
guys come
itself.
alive and you can't wait to see what they're going to do next.
Exactly, and you're writing down as fast as you can and do that. And of course I got it, and I knocked down 90,000 words
Holy cow.
in like 3 weeks.
Holy cow.
It was just really...
Was it any good?
No.
But that wasn't the point.
That wasn't the point. So I thought it was pretty cool, and I let my daughter read it. And my daughter, one of the things that's neat about having a big family is you get really honest criticism.
Yeah.
Your kids don't pull any punches.
Kids are the best. That's the real advantage of them, is they will tell you to your face.
Yeah. And my daughter said, there's an interesting story in here somewhere, but it reads like stereo instructions.
Good. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she says, the very first thing you do is take about 3 or 4 gallons of adjectives and throw them in here liberally. And so I went in, and all of a sudden, the 80,000 words, I put in 15,000 new adjectives by count.
Now it's 95,000 words.
Now it's 95,000
But it's very much
words.
more attractive.
But it's much
What did
more
you do?
attractive.
What did you do? Are you going to publish it?
Yes, but it's still. And then I had a brother-in-law who said, "Just let me rewrite the first 2 pages."
Oh dear.
And
How many pages later?
no, I mean
He just did 2? Really?
He just
stopped?
did 2. And
night and day.
And his was beautiful, and mine was so clunky.
Oh dear.
And then I realized one other thing. It is not right to change tense 3 times in one paragraph.
There's little things like that that are, you know, professionals know.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
but that's fixable.
It's fixable.
That's totally fixable.
And I'm going to fix it. But
even a good editor would fix that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when I started going down the rat hole of figuring out whether I can publish this, because I figured I'll get it edited, but I want to find out if there's a market. You know, I'm an engineer and a businessman, and so I wanted to figure out
waste time.
This business.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, this is the book you need to write, Finding the Next Steve Jobs and all that. And so
I cannot wait to read.
And they said not only that, it'll be guaranteed to be a New York Times bestseller.
Right. It's automatic.
And then all the rest of the things that you do will be better because it comes from a New York Times.
New York Times bestselling author Nolan Bushnell.
Right.
So what's just the basic plot of this sci-fi?
It's video games 2071.
Oh, I want to read that.
It's 100-year anniversary of the video game.
Oh, I know.
And it's enabled by nanotechnology.
Oh man.
In which
this sounds great.
Well,
wouldn't you read this? Chat room? You would read that.
More than that, everybody says that good science fiction, that the hero needs to get laid every 30 pages.
Robert Heinlein knew that. He knew that. And not all the science fiction I've read has that.
Yeah, and it's best if
I thought that was spy novels. That's science fiction too. Huh?
Science fiction too. If the geek is sitting there programming and basically gets attacked by this very attractive, gorgeous woman who thinks he's just wonderful.
Not bad, yeah.
You know.
It has no effort involved.
No effort involved.
Yeah.
No social skills necessary.
No, but she loves him for who he is.
Exactly.
And then disappears.
And so I got that throughout that. And you know,
you did that.
Oh yeah.
I want to read this book. That sounds great. Do you have a title for it?
Yeah, it's Video Games 2071.
I love it. And see, because it's you, I think people would read it just because they want to know what your thinking would be about the future of video games. I'd be fascinated just for that.
Well, did you ever stop to think that when you write a book, you're exposing the deep, ugly workings of your own brain?
Yeah, unfortunately.
But
a novel, anyway.
A novel, anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh, I'd love to.
But anyway, so to make the long story
now
longer,
you've got 3 books. So there's the sci-fi, there's the Steve Jobs book, and you said you're going to do one on...
I've got you know, it's called Hyper Ed School of the Future.
Oh, see, another one.
And it's really a design of how I believe the School of the Future needs to be structured to teach entrepreneurship, creativity, tool skills, all these other things. And it's woven together in a way where I believe that a superior education can be delivered for about $7,000 a year, which is $3,000 less, with all these wonderful things, just with the appropriate use of technology.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And
I think we have to do that. The California, anyway, the schools are just falling apart.
Yeah.
And if we don't do that, you're probably your daughter saying, "What the hell? you were supposed to be done an hour ago." But if we
is that
don't,
my daughter?
I don't know. No, I thought the phone was. I don't.
Oh no.
If we don't do that, we're going to have a real problem.
Oh yeah.
Because we are not serving our children now at all.
Not only that, here's the thing that's interesting, and somebody said that the education book should be first. The problem is the software isn't ready. And so
that's what the wordplay is and all of this.
That's
stuff.
how the book came down through the other stuff.
And was Brain Rush also anti-aging games, or was that something else?
Something different. That's a girl named Elizabeth, who is.
Because I've used Lumosity, which is an anti-aging. And it's fun because it's different, you know, spatial, then it's logical, then it's musical. So you mix it. Your brain is constantly.
Yeah, and you have to be able to deal with spatial distractions.
Yes.
Because that is the one thing that we all do. But when our processors are really active, we can reconstruct and remember where we parked our car, even though we weren't thinking at all about what we're parking.
you know, when I listen to audiobooks and I re-listen to a passage, I know where I was when I hear that passage, and it's baffled me. I don't understand that. What is going on in my brain that it's making these associations the whole time I'm listening to the book?
Yeah.
It is, apparently.
Absolutely. I've done the same thing where I've re-listened to a book, and all of a sudden,
where you are.
I'm back in D.C.
Oh, yeah. I was driving down this road when I was listening to that. It's the strangest thing. And smell does that, of course, but I think we know about that. But this audio connection.
Yeah.
The brain is so strange.
And we know now that we can increase our IQs by 15 points if we work at it.
Tell me how, because I'll do it if I can. Wouldn't everybody want to do that?
Oh, that's my fourth.
Is that another book? You should never have made that list.
no, I've been doing a lot of things, and I'm telling you that it really works. One of them is do different things. But more than that, the neurogenesis part of it is only when you're in the awkward phase.
Right. That's the learning. That's where the maximum learning is happening.
So
but it's also, by the way, the most uncomfortable part of learning. So it's the thing you normally want to avoid.
Yeah, stay uncomfortable and be an elegant beginner. If you're an elegant beginner, so learn line dancing. Oh. Exactly.
Because it'll be very awkward and ugly, but that's the part that's good for you.
Yeah, and then skateboarding.
Yeah.
Rollerblading.
Oh my God, horrible.
You know, then Tai Chi.
Right. So it doesn't have to always be physical. It could be something mental that is
well. It turns out if there's a physical component to it, it's slightly more neurogenic.
Ah. So that's interesting. So learn new physical skills, and as soon as you get good at them, try something else.
Exactly.
Don't get good at anything.
Don't get good at anything.
Because it's not helping you. Because your brain path, you got all the paths, and now you're just traveling down the existing path. It's no big deal.
Like people think, well, you know, I'm keeping my brain active because I'm doing crossword puzzles.
No, because you're good at them. That's no challenge. You should only do stuff you're bad at.
Exactly.
I have to rethink my life.
Well, there's so many scriptures.
That's great.
Go
though.
through the prescription of on your way to work, go a different way every day.
Yes.
And
routine is bad for
routine is horrible.
Yeah.
And look for some beauty.
Oh, I like that.
Because it turns out that just aimlessly driving without a purpose isn't as neurogenic as questing.
Ah.
Remember, we're paleo man.
Right.
And as we were walking our 30 miles a day, we were
looking for food or somewhere to
sleep. Something
to
sleep, danger. Mm-hmm. Anyway.
This is why gaming is actually great.
Absolutely.
Because really, that's what gaming is.
Precisely.
Yeah. So the gaming is probably good for you.
No question.
Unless you're good at it, then you should stop and you should do something you're bad at.
Exactly.
Play a new game.